Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another video with me. As always, I hope it finds you well wherever you are out there in the wide, wide world. So in this video, guys, I thought that we would discuss the topic of Irish independence. I found a very interesting article online that coincides with chapter 47 in the memoirs that Billy shares, where Billy explains to us the importance of Ireland's national sovereignty, basically. On page 429, he quotes, "Governments have no divine or moral right to rule except by consent. Aleister Crowley declared Ireland's independence, and so do I. If Great Britain loved the Irish as themselves, all of Ireland might want to be ruled by them. However, most do not." Yes, so I thought that I would go through this article it's off of a website called Wondrium Daily. And the title of said article is called Aleister Crowley and the Link Between Occultism and Espionage. Very interesting. This was written by Richard B. Spence, who has a PhD at the University of Idaho. So we're just going to kind of go through this article and learn a little bit about Crowley's link to Ireland. So to some, Crowley was a faker and a con man, and to others, he was a spiritual master and a misunderstood genius. Aleister Crowley was undoubtedly the most influential occultist of the 20th century. And he was also something else, a spy. In fact, Crowley was an agent provocateur, an agent who gains the enemy's confidence and influences them to commit illegal or self-defeating acts. Well, that sounds basically like propagating a political party, in my own opinion, a self-defeating act. Anyways, Crowley intertwined secret societies, occultism, and espionage in a way that hadn't been done before. The secret society occult interplay seems obvious enough. Basically, spy agencies are bureaucratic secret societies. Their aim is to acquire the secrets of others and conceal their own. They're selective in recruitment and bind members by oaths of silence. They prefer to operate outside of public awareness and scrutiny. The pursuit of occult knowledge is quite similar. As Crowley put it, quote, "Investigation of spiritualism makes a capital training ground for Secret Service work. One soon gets up to all the tricks," unquote. It's not by accident that intelligent professionals are commonly nicknamed spooks. Espionage has its own moral code. One British agent recalled being told at the time of his recruitment that, quote, "You mustn't be afraid of forgery and you mustn't be afraid of murder," unquote. Crowley's personal motto of "do what thou wilt" fit perfectly. While popular imagination connects the occult with the supernatural or diabolical, it really just means concealed. An occultist seeks to reveal what is hidden and, as often as not, reconceal it. A cardinal rule in secret societies is that the knowledge such organizations offer isn't for everyone. It's for the elect, and part of the elect's job is to keep it to themselves. Crowley is commonly regarded as a Satanist, though that's highly debatable. Despite occasional claims to Irish ancestry, he was entirely English. Crowley came from a well-to-do fundamentalist Christian home that inspired his desire to start a new religion. He cobbled his mystical experiences and pet beliefs into something he dubbed Thelema, or will. Others called it Crowleyanity. He dreamed it would push aside Christianity and usher in a new age of enlightenment. He was also a world-class mountain climber and chess player. Crowley's occultist career began when he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1898. The Golden Dawn was among the many esoteric societies that popped up like mushrooms in the 1880s. Its notable members included the poet William Butler Yeats and occult scholar Arthur Waite, famously of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot cards. From outside, it seemed like a late Victorian gaggle of well-heeled crackpots and eccentric artists. But some members of the secret society harbored a political agenda. It was called legitimism. In practical terms, it meant getting people like Queen Victoria, a German descendant, off the British throne and restoring the rightful Stuart line. It promised a return to England, to the bosom of the Roman Catholic Church, and to restore autonomy to Scotland and Ireland. No surprise that the Golden Dawn had more than its share of Irish members, such as Yeats. Some have ties to the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which was a secret society fighting for Irish independence. One leader of the Golden Dawn, the very man who initiated Aleister Crowley, was a British occultist and legitimist named Samuel MacGregor Mathers. In turn, Mathers was a close friend of a peculiar English peer named Lord Bertram Ashburnham. Ashburnham was also a militant legitimist who operated an armed training camp on his estate. In fact, Mathers, Ashburnham, and other Golden Dawners were neck-deep in a conspiracy to arm and finance a revolution in Spain. Once successful, they expected the new king, one Don Carlos, to return the favor. It's not hard to see why the British authorities wanted to know what was going on at those lodge meetings. The man they sent to find out was Aleister Crowley. With Mathers' backing, Crowley wormed his way into the Spanish plot, which included smuggling a shipload of arms. Someone, probably Crowley, betrayed it. His joining the Golden Dawn was like tossing a grenade into the room. Crowley's theatrical flamboyance ruffled feathers. He stirred up more trouble by introducing sex into some of their rituals. The result was an internal feud that all but destroyed the Golden Dawn, and that probably suited Crowley's employers just fine. A key element in the Golden Dawn's belief system And Crowley's was a group known as the Secret Chiefs. They were thought to be advanced spiritual beings who mysteriously guided their initiates, turning revelation on and off like a spigot. Interestingly, Crowley compared them to spy chiefs for their tendency to keep us in the dark. The secret chiefs were served by their own secret society, the Great White Lodge. Appropriately, the White Lodge opposed an insidious group known as the Black Lodge and its Black Brothers. The distinction was between white and black magic. Just about everyone Crowley disliked, and there were many he branded as a black brother. Despite his reputation as a black magician, Crowley insisted that he really served the White Lodge. About 15 years after the Golden Dawn episode, an important Irish nationalist known as Sir Roger Casement visited New York City to negotiate a secret deal for German support of an uprising in Ireland. British intelligence caught wind and proceeded cautiously. America was a neutral country, and the Irish cause enjoyed wide support there. But the Brits knew a secret. Casement was a homosexual, and that offered a means to entrap and compromise him. Crowley was, or affected to be, bisexual. His ability to infiltrate the gay underworld made him ideal to unofficially dig up dirt on Casement. If Crowley was exposed, London's hands were clean. It's called deniability. When Crowley sailed from England, the British believed that Casement was still in New York, but he'd quietly slipped away, so Crowley arrived in Manhattan to find his egg was addled. But he found other ways to be useful. On July 3rd, 1915, as the first rays of dawn reflected off the Hudson River, 10 people gathered on the 50th Street Pier. Leading them was Crowley himself, acting as self-proclaimed leader of Irish hope and a representative of the secret revolutionary Committee of Public Safety of the Provisional Government of Ireland. Of course, that was an organization that existed only in Crowley's imagination. 2 others in tow were bona fide Irish nationalists, but 4 were just common drunks. Another in attendance was Crowley's then current girlfriend, or Scarlet Woman, named Leela Waddell. She kept everyone entertained, or at least awake, with lively fiddle tunes. Also on hand was a reporter from the New York Times. Crowley wanted to be sure the event got plenty of publicity. After rowing out to Liberty Island, he went into high gear, swearing an oath to revolution and ostentatiously tearing up his British passport. He next declared war on England and swore to fight to the last drop of blood for his Irish freedom. It was pure theater. Crowley later admitted that he knew almost nothing about Ireland or its struggle for independence. His real passport was safe back in his room. He'd torn up an envelope. Nor was he really trying to impress the Irish revolutionaries in New York. The Germans were his target. So keeping this article in mind, when we look at chapter 47 and the memoirs, it's just interesting the reasons that Billy gives us for him wanting to write the song, Give Ireland Back to the Irish. And We can see on page 429 his reasoning. It starts off by him explaining all of Ireland, north and south, is a single island, and it can be self-governing as one united people. Northern Ireland was partitioned off from Southern Ireland almost a century ago. The Irish people had divided themselves over religion. Throughout most of the island, the population is primarily Catholic, but is mostly Protestant in the Northeast. The Protestants up north are taught that they are British and that they need the United Kingdom to protect them from the South. The Catholics in the North consider themselves Irish, like on the rest of the island, and believe that they do not need the United Kingdom to control and protect them. What they need is greater religious tolerance, not foreign rule. Tolerance flows more naturally now between competing religions and ideologies. I was not the only one who worked to break down rigid, intolerant thinking, but more than most have been in a position to make a difference. I have been glad to see and to use music to facilitate change. As Paul McCartney, I have had the pleasure of reaching out to countries and cultures that had been closed or cold to the West. So then he writes on page 430, to push the UK to release Ireland, I wrote, give Ireland back to the Irish. Now divisive religiosity is declining there, as everywhere that plays our songs. It was not just us. We were pawns in a scheme calculated to break rigid thinking. We each had our part to play. Since the 60s, Irish demands for the self-rule have only intensified. On Bloody Sunday, the 30th of January, 1972, the 1st Battalion of the British Parachute Regiment near Bogside in dreary Northern Ireland shot 27 civil rights demonstrators who joined a march led by a Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association. 13 people, including 7 teenagers, died immediately. Another victim died 6 weeks later in consequence of the injuries he received that day. 2 protesters were run down by army vehicles. So pausing it there, just look at that numerology being shown. 13 people were shot, including 7 teenagers, and then another 6 weeks later, another victim passed away. Just interesting, 13, 7, and 6 being highlighted in those couple of sentences. So the government's attack shocked the world. Everyone who was shot was unarmed. 5 of them were shot in the back. It was murder. Investigations required by the British government have largely cleared the brutal soldiers and British authorities of all blame. Of course, saying that the soldier shooting was, quote, bordering on the reckless, unquote. You fucking think? Reckless, my ass. Bordering on the psychotic, more like. Ugh. Okay, sorry. The public outcry that followed led to another inquiry established in 1998 to reevaluate the events again. Currently, early next year, which was 2010 back then, is the soonest that we can expect to have the outcome of the second inquiry. And I do believe the second inquiry said about the same shit. It was nothing new. It was, you know, that the soldiers and the military had no part to play in any of it. They were just innocent bystanders, right? No. Okay, so turning to page 432, he continues. So these circumstances desperately required swift action. A way to change the tyrannical policy in most modern governments now is not to turn public opinion against a cause through violence, but to always elicit public empathy through increased awareness. Which is funny because Crowley um, advertised and propagated the use of violence and force in his, espionage days, thwarting America to try and get involved with World War I when they wouldn't. Very interesting. So we must perceive others as being you and me. When people feel attacked, the instinct is automatically towards self-defense. We want to fight back. When those who favor oppressing the Irish hear that more soldiers on their own side have been killed, each of them becomes more entrenched in their perception that more punishment and control is the answer, not peace and self-rule. Very interesting. Give Ireland back to the Irish in only 26 days from Bloody Sunday was recorded and released as a protest song. From our limited point of view, it was the first time people outside of Ireland seriously questioned what we were doing there. EMI chairman Joseph Lockwood heard the recording before it was released. He feared it would encourage further rioting. I told him that I felt strongly about it and that it would quell some of the violence, thereby increasing awareness here, and that they had to release it. They had to. I was willing to end our long-standing, lucrative recording relationship over that matter. If he had persisted in refusing to release my material, it would have allowed me to go elsewhere. He said, quote, "Well, it'll be banned. You can't expect the government to allow that," unquote. He was right, of course. I knew give Ireland back to the Irish would not be an easy route. Nevertheless, it was time. And notice at the bottom of the page how it says that Give Ireland Back to the Irish was only a hit in the Republic of Ireland and Spain, when we had just read how Crowley partnered with British intelligence and German intelligence to finance a revolution in Spain. There you go, Spain and Ireland. I just found that to be very uncanny. Just very interesting, right? This was Billy's sort of reasoning to write and record that song as a sort of reaction to the violence that was perpetuated onto these innocent civilians who were just protesting, unarmed protesters, right? That's where you get them the most, is by attacking innocent people. Look what happened on 9/11, right? Then you gain sympathy out of trauma and out of empathy developed from said trauma for your cause. It is just mass manipulation at its finest, and it just goes to show, Crowley's ties to all of these secret services, secret societies, you know, shows in his um, political activism for Irish independence. But just as that article showed, it was all theater, right? So as Crowley demanded violence to solve issues, Billy, in the spirit of duality, is offering peace and understanding, peace and love. I just find it, again, just funny, these themes of duality at play, you know? Yeah. What do you guys think about this? I just found it pretty interesting to hear, you know, that he makes the declaration that Aleister Crowley cried for Irish independence, and so does he. Like father, like son. The apple don't fall too far from the tree there. Don't it, Billy? Yes. Let me know what you guys think about this. I just find it very interesting and funny because it's like you just have to look at the situation from all sides, don't you, to get a full and educated opinion on all of these issues that have happened throughout history. And Billy trying to insert himself into it, just ties into these secret societies and their goals of devising people. My way is better than your way, sort of thinking, which humans tend to fully embrace that kind of polarized thinking for whatever reason, because they're programmed to accept it, I guess. I don't know. Um, and yeah, it doesn't get us anywhere. It's a paradox, and it is manipulation to get us into that paradox where we literally have no choice in the matter at all. It is not up to us if Ireland is freed or not. So what if we have, empathy, if he's gained public empathy and an outcry, what the fuck does that matter? We have been shown repeatedly that our voices and our opinions do not matter. And, they say that we consent to all of this bullshit, which really we're tricked into believing that we consent to these people to represent us on the world stage. And their voices are the ones that matter. And their manipulations are the ones that back us into a corner and turn us on each other so that we aren't paying attention to the big elephant in the fucking room. It's all diversion tactics to, again, get us all in a tizzy so we aren't paying attention to what's actually going on. So, in theory, one could say that Mr. William is an agent provocateur as well. Would not surprise me. He's backed by all of these secret societies. He's a part of the head secret society in the world. Why would you think that he is for us as people? He comes across as this empathetic and kind person. But look at the ideas he's propagating. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to me, at least. Let me know what you guys think about this subject. I found it quite interesting, and I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. So that's all I have for you. Until the next video, my lovelies, I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
Okay. There's this guy who gets lost in Ireland, and it's the middle of the night, so he's looking for some sign of life, and he sees up on the hill, he sees a little house with lights on, so he follows this long fence up to the top of the hill, and he realises it's a pub. Goes in the pub, it's completely empty except for the barman. So he goes up to the bar and he says, pint of Guinness, please. The barman says, certainly, sir. Pint of Guinness. And as he's pulling it, he says, did you notice that fence as you come up? He said, yeah, I did. Nice. I followed it up, actually. Nice straight fence. He said, I made that fence myself. He said, did they call me Jones the fence maker? No. Guys. So he gets his drink and he's starting to drink his Guinness, and then the guy says, do you like this bar? That's solid mahogany, that. He said, I made that myself. He said, that's a very nice bar, actually. Yeah. You made that yourself? Fantastic. He said, and do they call me Jones the bar maker? No. I said, okay. He says, what do you think of that? What do you think of that Guinness? Do you think I've pulled it well? He said, that's a very well pulled pint, yes, I love that. He said, and do they call me Jones, the Guinness puller? No. He says, but you fuck one goat.